Hi everyone, it's Rain here from Rain's Kitchen and Garden. I'm in my kitchen today making pizza sauce. I'm also going to show you how I can it with a Waterbath canner. I'm very excited about this today because I'm really low on pizza sauce and we eat a lot of pizza here. I also recently harvested a lot of really nice fresh basil and I want to put it to good use. In the description below, I'm going to leave a link that has the written recipe, which includes photos of the canning equipment that you'll need to can this pizza sauce. So let's make pizza sauce. These are the last of my canned tomatoes that I canned last spring. I managed to find a whole bunch of hothouse tomatoes on sale. We had a very good price last March, and I think I bought 100 pounds or maybe 120, and I'm already done. 4 months and 100 or 120 pounds of tomatoes, and that's it. I'm gonna have to really make sure I get tons and tons of tomatoes next fall so that I can can a whole year's worth. So there's 10 cans here. They're pints, so 5 pints will go into each of my 2 pots. For the next 5 ingredients, I mix them all together in one bowl so that I can divide them evenly between the 2 pots. Here I've got 3/4 of a cup of extra virgin olive oil, I have 3½ tablespoons of dried oregano, 5 teaspoons of regular table salt, 10 garlic cloves chopped. These are my homegrown garlic. I am so proud of this. And I've also got 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. This is optional. The reason that I add sugar is because I'm using my home canned tomatoes. They're not fresh tomatoes. And when you can your tomatoes, you have to add an acid to them. And I add lemon juice, and that sometimes makes the tomatoes a little bit sour. So it's up to you if you want to add sugar. I find the same with the canned tomatoes that you get at the store. I find that you can kind of taste, they have a tinny taste to them, and sugar always helps a little bit. So there we go, that's all mixed up, and I'm going to divide this evenly between my 2 pots. I have a bowl full of basil. I don't really have a measurement for basil because it's fresh basil and I kind of know how much we like. This is probably the equivalent of a cup for this recipe, so I'm just going to divide that evenly, just as is, between the 2 pots. I'm going to turn the burners on to maximum, bring this all to a boil, and when it starts boiling, I'm going to turn it down to a simmer for 1 hour and 15 minutes. When there's about 45 minutes left on my timer, I go in with my potato masher and I just kind of mash up the tomatoes a little bit. I like a chunky pizza sauce. I'm not looking for a blended sauce at all, but I just want to make sure that there's no huge pieces of tomato in there. And it's also going to help the last 45 minutes for the liquid to evaporate a little more, because I don't want a runny sauce either. I cook mine for 1 hour and 15 minutes, but sometimes I'll let it go a little longer depending on how watery it is, because like I said, I don't want a soupy, wet pizza sauce. I guess the recommendation could be cook it until you like the consistency, and then you're ready to can it. What do you smell, Jack? Jack? What do you smell? To prepare your mason jars for canning, they have to be cleaned and they have to be warm. What I usually do is I fill my mason jars with warm water and then I put them into my canner that already has water in it. And as the Waterbath canner is heating up the water, it's also warming up my jars. The danger with having cold jars is that you're putting in hot liquid into your jars and then you're putting it directly into very hot water in the canner, and there's a risk of breakage. So always prepare your jars properly. It's not necessary for you to sterilize your jars or your lids or the rings before you can. As long as you are Waterbath canning for more than 10 minutes or pressure canning, you don't need to sterilize them. So basically what I've done to prepare my rings and my lids is that I've washed them and I've got them in a bowl waiting to be used. My jars have been in my canner for about 10 minutes and I think that's warm enough. So I'm going to lift them out and I'm going to start filling the jars now. When I remove my jars from the canner, I just dump the water back in, because in the end you want to make sure that your jars are at least 1 inch below water level. If you're not comfortable using your hands in gloves to do this, this tool is there for a reason. You just do this and you can empty your water out without touching the jar. But my water isn't fully boiling yet, so my gloved hands are fine. Do whatever you feel is safe and whatever makes you feel comfortable. In each jar, I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and then I'm going to fill up the jar to 1/2 inch of headspace. And what that means is you're leaving 1/2 inch of space from the top of the jar. And that's where this little tool comes in handy. There are measurements on each of these levels here. For example, if you needed 1 inch of headspace, you would put your tool in the jar like this. Oh, sorry, this way. And you would know that you had to fill it up until the bottom here. 3/4 of an inch and 1/2 inch. So for me, I know that 1/2 inch comes to the top of the second ring here. So I can kind of eyeball it, but you can always go in later and put your tool in to make sure that you have left just 1/2 inch of headspace there. And these tools come in really handy. They typically all come together, the 4 of them. They're canning tools. This is the measurement for the headspace. This is a magnet so that you don't have to touch hot lids. This is a great funnel that fits perfectly on the mason jar, and it's good for other uses too, not just for canning. And this is basically to pick up your hot jars like that. You pick them up and they're not going to fall as long as you get a good grip. So I highly recommend getting these canning tools. They're great for water bath canning and for pressure canning. A typical water bath canner holds 8 jars, and usually I get about 7 to 8 jars of pizza sauce with this recipe. If you triple the recipe or quadruple the recipe, or if you like yours a little runnier, you might get more than 8 jars, which means that you have to do a second round of canning. If that's the case, don't fill all of your jars right away. Put your pizza sauce on the burner on low heat to keep it warm, and then go through the same process as you did before, filling your jars with hot water and putting them in the canner for about 10 minutes to warm up. I was very lucky. I managed to fill exactly 8 jars of pizza sauce. What I'm doing right now is I'm taking my measurement tool and I am pushing everything around to de-bubble. You don't want any air pockets in your can. You want everything to be as solid as possible, so you must de-bubble. And I talked before about this measuring tool. I'm just gonna wipe it off. We need to leave 1/2 inch of headspace. So I know what 1/2 inch of headspace is supposed to be. And I'm just measuring to make sure that I didn't fill my jars too high. This one might be a little high. And this one too. So I'll put those aside. And this one's a little low. So I'm just taking a little bit out of there and putting it in this one. And we'll measure again. We really want to make sure that we don't have too much headspace or too little headspace. Okay, they're all fine. It's very important to make sure that the tops of your jars are clean. You don't want any food on the top of your jar. You see, my paper towel has got oil and tomato on it. If I had just grabbed my lid and put it on like that, I could have created a situation where there's bacteria. And nobody wants botulism, right? So make sure that your lids are really clean. The first step is to take a towel and wipe off any kind of food residue off the top of the jar. I go the extra step. I have a little container here filled with white vinegar, and I have a paper towel that I dip in there, and I just wipe the rim with vinegar, just to make sure that there's really no food residue left. And it also sanitizes it at the same time. The last step before putting your jars into the canner is to put the lids on. When you're putting your lids on, don't try to make them as tight as possible, just finger tight. They will seal in the canner, so not to worry. Now that your mason jars are in your water bath canner, all you have to do is wait for it to start boiling. When it starts to boil, keep it at a rapid boil with the cover on. If it starts to, bubble too much and everything, you can turn it down a little bit, but always keep it at a rapid boil with the cover on. And you want to process it for 35 minutes. Once you have a rapid boil, start your timer for 35 minutes. When your 35 minutes is done, turn your burner off and leave the canner on the burner for about 10 minutes before you take the mason jars out of the canner. After the 10-minute rest time, we're going to take our jars out of the canner. Be really careful because they are hot. I use my hands. Oh, they're popping already. But if you want, you can use this tool here. I love that sound. Well, my pizza sauce is all made and canned. I'm very happy about that. We eat a lot of pizza, so we go through a lot of pizza sauce, and having 8 pints of pizza sauce is really nice. This should last us about a month and a half to 2 months. I'm really happy that we have a stock of pizza sauce now. So what you're going to do is you're going to leave them on a towel overnight. It's summertime as I'm making this, so I don't have to cover these, but if it was winter, if it's chilly, you should cover your cans with a towel just to make sure that there's no shock. You want to make sure that they seal properly. And I know that this can is already sealed, so I'm going to show you. I'm pushing down on the top and it's not puckering up and popping up. That means it's already sealed. So leave them as is, and in the morning, check each top. Go over each top and make sure that they are very well sealed. If by chance, and it's probably a very low chance, if by chance your cans have not sealed, put the can in the fridge and make sure you use it within 1 or 2 weeks. That's all. And always label your cans too. Put the date that you canned and what's in the can, because as you start to really build your pantry, and if you don't label them, you could get confused as to what's in your mason jars. I know that there's some controversy about what I'm about to say. I personally like to use my canned goods within a year. I know that some people say that they're good for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, forever, the Armageddon, whatever you want to say. But personally speaking, I always use my canned goods within 1 year. I hope that you enjoyed this video, my friends, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and please leave me a comment. Let me know, are you a canner? Do you like to make your own pizza sauce? I would love to read your comment, and I try my best to answer everyone. So until next time, this is Rain from Rain's Kitchen and Garden. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.